It was past midnight when the quiet of my room felt heavier than the walls could carry, the kind of silence that presses against your chest and makes your own breathing sound too loud. I had been lying awake, staring at the ceiling fan as it cut slow circles through the dark, replaying the small failures of my life like a film that refused to end. Then the door opened without a sound, and the air changed. I didn't need to see her clearly to know who it was. Even in the dim spill of hallway light, her presence felt like a memory stepping out of the past, and when she leaned closer and whispered my name, it felt as though the night itself had finally decided to speak. Before the story goes any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of human connection, take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel Kindness Touch. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that may be waiting for exactly this moment. Her whisper didn't carry fear or urgency, only a softness that made my eyes burn without warning. That single moment at midnight became the hinge on which everything else turned, but the truth of this story lived mostly in daylight, in the slow hours that followed, where healing doesn't arrive like lightning but like morning light creeping across a floor. My name is Arman Halim, and for years I had learned how to survive by keeping people at a careful distance. I was the kind of person who smiled politely, worked diligently, and went home alone without complaint. Loss had taught me efficiency, not bravery. I had lost my mother to illness in my early 20s, and my father had drifted away long before that, leaving me with an inherited house that echoed too loudly, and a job at a small architectural firm where I designed homes I wasn't sure I believed in anymore. The woman at my door was Naira Solis, my older cousin by marriage, though the family tree had been complicated by time and silence. She had once lived in this house when I was a teenager, during a summer when my mother's laughter still filled the kitchen and the windows were always open. Naira had been the one who taught me how to ride a bike without training wheels, how to cook lentils without burning them, how to notice when someone was hurting even if they said they were fine. Then life scattered us. She married young, moved cities, and disappeared into her own storms. I heard rumors of a difficult marriage, of a child lost before birth, of strength worn thin. Years passed without a word until that midnight whisper brought her back into my life like a quiet apology. Morning came gently, painting the house in gold and dust motes. Naira sat at the kitchen table with a cup of tea, her hands wrapped around the warmth as if it were a lifeline. In the daylight I could see the fine lines near her eyes, the way resilience had shaped her face into something both tired and brave. She had come because she had nowhere else to go, because pride had finally loosened its grip, and because she remembered that once, long ago, this house had been safe. I didn't need her to explain everything. Some stories are heavy enough without being spoken aloud. The days that followed were ordinary in the way that changes everything. We woke early, shared quiet breakfasts, and went our separate ways under the sun. I returned to my drafting table with a new awareness, noticing how light moved through the buildings I designed, how space could either shelter or suffocate. Naira took a temporary job at a nearby community library, organizing donated books and helping children with homework in the afternoons. She came home with stories of small triumphs, of a boy who finally understood fractions, of a girl who read her first full page aloud. The house, once echoing, began to hum again. But healing is not a straight road, and the challenges rose slowly, like heat on concrete. Naira struggled with nights, waking from dreams she couldn't fully remember, but that left her shaken. I struggled with guilt, with the thought that I had lived safely while others bore heavier burdens. We learned to navigate around each other's pain without turning away from it. During the day, we walked through the neighborhood, past shops and trees heavy with leaves, letting the sun do what words could not. Daylight gave us permission to breathe. One afternoon, the power went out across the block and the city slowed into something softer. Without screens or schedules, we sat on the front steps and watched neighbors emerge, blinking into the unexpected freedom. Children played with chalk, elders shared fruit, and someone strummed a guitar off-key but sincerely. Naira closed her eyes and let the warmth touch her face, and I realized that what she had lost was not only a marriage or a child, but the simple belief that she belonged somewhere. That afternoon, belonging felt possible again. My own struggle surfaced at work when a project I had poured months into was abruptly cancelled. The firm decided to pivot, and my designs were shelved without ceremony. I felt the familiar tightening in my chest, the urge to retreat into usefulness without hope. When I told Naira later that day, she listened with a steadiness that felt like a gift. She didn't offer solutions or platitudes. She simply acknowledged the weight of disappointment and reminded me, without saying it outright, that being seen mattered more than being productive. As weeks passed, the house transformed. We repainted the hallway in a color that caught the light just right. We planted herbs in the small patch of soil by the window, their green insisting on life. Naira laughed more easily, though sadness still visited. I started sketching again at home, not for clients but for myself, imagining spaces designed around recovery rather than perfection. Day by day, the future loosened its grip, allowing room for possibility. The turning point came on a bright morning when Naira received a letter from the library board. They offered her a permanent position, recognizing her patience and quiet impact. She read the letter twice, then once more, as if afraid it might vanish. The joy on her face was not loud, but it was deep, the kind that settles into bones. That same day, I received a call from a former colleague who had seen my personal sketches online and wanted to collaborate on a community housing project focused on accessibility and warmth. It felt as though the daylight had been waiting for us to be ready. Still, the memory of that midnight whisper lingered, not as fear but as a reminder of how close despair can come without warning. One afternoon, standing in the kitchen with sunlight spilling across the counter, Naira told me, in her own careful way, that asking for help had been the hardest thing she had ever done. She had stood outside the door that night for a long time, rehearsing silence before choosing courage. Hearing this, I understood that strength often looks like vulnerability, and that opening a door can change more than one life. As summer leaned toward autumn, the house became a place of gentle rhythms. Mornings filled with light and purpose, afternoons busy with work and service, evenings calm and reflective. We hosted neighbors for tea, shared meals, and let laughter find its way back into the rooms. The past did not disappear, but it softened, losing its sharpest edges. Just before the ending of this story, take a moment and comment below with the words "Kindness opens doors" if you believe that one small act can change a life. Your words might be the encouragement someone else needs today. In the end, what stayed with me most was not the drama of a door opening at midnight, but the quiet heroism of the days that followed. Healing happened in sunlight, in shared chores, in listening without fixing, in choosing to stay present. Naira found her footing again, not because everything was repaired, but because she was no longer alone. I found a renewed sense of purpose, designing spaces that honored human fragility and hope in equal measure. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of someone you once helped or wished you had, please like this video, share it, and leave a comment to let us know. Subscribe to Kindness Touch so more stories like this can continue to reach those who need them. Sometimes all it takes is opening a door or a heart and letting the light of day do the rest.